I run a cybersecurity company now. It's my second one called Blue Goat Cyber. I also write books primarily around the theme of personal development. I feel like my mission through anything I do is really about self leadership. I think leadership starts for yourself. And as you mentioned, I think we all have a desire inside ourselves to do something greater, but we've let society, our parents, education, media sort of dampen that down. And I want to help people uncover that and develop the courage to take a new step.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stevenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where we are dedicated to help our listeners live their best audacious life ever. Thank you so much for tuning in as we explore insights and stories that will empower you to embrace boldness and courage in all aspects of your life. Now, when we think about clarity, it's very much like a compass that guides us through the vast wilderness of life, and helping us, what it does, it helps us to navigate uncharted territories and make informed decisions with confidence. And just as a skilled adventurer relies on clear direction to conquer mountains, Christian Espinosa's journey reveals the power of clarity in overcoming life's challenges and pursuing dreams with unwavering determination. Christian is a cybersecurity expert. He's an author and an inspirational speaker known for his transformative work in personal development as well as leadership. You know, he's got over 30 years of experience in the cybersecurity industry or that space, and he has got a passion for empowering individuals to unlock their full potential. Christian's insights are sure to inspire and motivate listeners. In this particular episode, Christian shares his personal journey of resilience and courage in the face of adversity, highlighting the importance of self-leadership and clarity in making impactful decisions and embracing life's challenges with audacity. It's a good one that I'm sure you'll all appreciate. So without any further ado, here's Christian. Enjoy. Hey, Christian, thank you for joining me here on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you taking the time and do this.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on, Audley. I appreciate it. Looking
Yeah,
forward to it.
Yeah, no, listen, for me, I love engaging in these types of dialogues, and really, if I go back to sort of the core, essence of this podcast is really encouraging, individuals to live that best audacious life that we talk about often and always here. And so, being able to contribute in this manner is a good thing. So thank you. Certainly want to talk about, your work. I mean, you've written a couple of books, and we'll sort of talk about that. But, really your messaging, if you will, is very much on brand, if you will, in theme, in terms of the theme is, and encourage individuals to get to that better place, if you will. And because we've all got that inner potential inside of all of us. And for some, it's a matter of having it awakened or stirred up or uncovered, if you will. So I'm kind of sort of set the stage a little bit here, but maybe as a starting point, we can get you to sort of introduce yourself to our listeners and have them understand a bit about you and your work that you do.
Yeah, I'm Christian Espinosa. I run a cybersecurity company now. It's my second one called Blue Goat Cyber. I also write books primarily around the theme of personal development. I feel like my mission through anything I do is really about self leadership. I think leadership starts for yourself. And as you mentioned, I think we all have a desire inside ourselves to do something greater, but we've let society, our parents, education, media sort of dampen that down. And I want to help people uncover that and develop the courage to take a step in the direction that they know they want to go in, but they have this fear around it, which is like largely self-created.
Yeah, that's so true, is it? Or we tell ourselves that, hey, I can't do this because of something I was created, or maybe something someone told me, or maybe I saw someone go through something. It's got no connection to me, but I've taken that on as my own, and now I've used that as my barrier to stop me from moving forward. And so, and that can be real dangerous, can it?
It can be super dangerous. Next thing you know, you're on your deathbed with full of regrets, and I want to help people not feel that way, at the end of their life, because We only have so much time here on Earth. You might as well like embrace what we feel like we're here to do and develop the courage to do it. And what you're talking about is my third book I'm actually working on now. We all have these stories we tell ourselves, and these
Right.
stories hold us back, in a number of fronts. The story could even be that I'm someone that doesn't believe in divorce, right? So you stick through a crappy marriage for like 50 years, miserable because the story you've told yourself, and we all have these stories, including me, and it's important to take a step back and maybe change that story.
Yeah, yeah. What's really interesting about that is these stories that we have. These same stories can elevate us as well as hold us back, right? And so it's which book are you reading? Which story are you choosing to read in that particular day? Really, I'd say, right?
100%. Like I try to tell myself the story. I'm someone that takes risk. I like adventure. I try to get better every day. So I'm better, today than I was yesterday. So that's the story I tell myself, which there's many stories I tell myself, but that's the one I try to have the constant narrative. So I am unafraid to step outside my comfort zone, unafraid to try new things, unafraid to take risk. And, that's how I try to live my life.
So I want to talk about your cybersecurity business that you've been. You've been for a little while, right? Like, is this in the industry? I should say, is that something you've been doing for a while, or how long?
I've been doing cybersecurity for about 30 years now. I used to do it in the military. I used to be in the Air Force. Graduated college, the Air Force Academy in '93. So I did cybersecurity for about 6 years in the Air Force. We called it information assurance back then. And then I did DoD contracting work. I did freelance work, teaching classes all over the world. And then this is my second cybersecurity business. I built one. I started in 2014 and sold it in 2020, and this is my second one. And we're purely focused on medical device cybersecurity. That's our niche, medical device
Yeah.
cybersecurity.
Got you. And the reason why I asked is because I mean, as all things related to technology, there's significant changes over time, and to know that 30 years ago you were doing something that people probably had never even heard of, and whereas now it's a bit more common, people have a more of understanding. But 30 years ago, I'm even the converse. I would imagine the conversations around what cybersecurity is was very different than they are now.
Yeah, much different. A lot of things have changed. I mean, 30 years ago, we had classified environments in the military that I was responsible for making sure the classified data remained protected, and we encrypted the data and we did different things. But now everything is interconnected. So we have a lot of interconnected devices, which increases the attack surface. We have people from anywhere in the world that can attack the TV in your in your living room,
Sure.
or from a medical device perspective, your pacemaker potentially, or the drug infusion pump, or anything that's monitoring your insulin level, your sugar level, your glucose
Right.
level, whatever. Yeah.
Right. Um, I'm wondering then if maybe you could identify, Christian, what you've sort of taken from your experience in the cybersecurity field that's assisted you or maybe elevated your message around the self-development space that you've come into and you've written books about. How has that informed it?
Well, with my first cybersecurity business, Alpine Security, it was my first one, and I paid a lot of the dumb tax. People like to say I made a lot of mistakes. And one of the things I realized in that business, when I zoomed out and looked at like the problems we were having,
Yeah.
I came to the conclusion that 99.9% of our problems were because my team, which is super highly rationally intelligent, super high IQ,
Yeah.
my team lacked emotional intelligence, or EQ.
Wow.
So they were talking over clients' heads, making clients feel stupid, not appreciated, not understood. They weren't collaborating well. They're just looking for an opportunity internally to, tell someone that they were stupid as well, because people want to be significant. And in cybersecurity, people think they're significant by being, quote, smarter than other people. So I worked hard to develop the emotional intelligence with my staff. And that's what I wrote the first book about, was that journey through, kind of forced growth, which I think entrepreneurship is really personal development
Yeah.
wrapped in the context of business.
How long did it take you to identify that? Because I would imagine you were in it, so I'm not sure you necessarily seeing it right away, or did you?
It took me, I would say, a couple years.
Okay.
I was in it, like you said. Yeah, it's hard to see yourself in your own box. I like to zoom out of my life
Right.
and see like
Right.
the big picture. And it was a hard thing to look at, because I realized when I kind of pulled back the curtain on this challenge that I used to be a part of the problem too. I was the one that got significance by being, quote, smarter than other people, by intellectually bullying people. So I realized that I was part of the problem as well. But I think a book should be transformational to the author as well as anybody that reads it. So it's
Right.
transformational for me.
Right. So you infuse a little bit of empathy, and then there you go. You got a book on the shelf ready to go.
Yeah.
What was it a difficult? What was that process like? I mean, you identify this issue, you recognize that it's a problem, and you want to inform others. Um, the process of writing a book, right? Because and letting everyone know, hey, you know what? Here's how you bring it down, and here's how you connect. Because I'm imagining you're talking about connection and relating to
Mhm.
people and understanding and listening. I think those are all things that are part of it.
Yeah. It's all those things you talked about: communication,
Mhm.
awareness, mindset, empathy. And for me, kind of the pivotal moment is I went to this event in 2019. It's called the Genius Network. It's
Mhm.
an event with fellow entrepreneurs, and I talked to a lot of people. And I've always felt like I didn't belong at events like that. I felt like I was never good enough, smart enough, any of these boxes. That's the story I told myself back then, right? Any of these boxes I didn't check. And a lot of people I spoke with had written books, and I'm like, what's holding me back from writing a book? It's been like this lifelong dream. So I decided, you know what, screw it. I'm going to go ahead and put the effort forward and write the book. And that was really the pivotal moment that made me decide to write the book.
Hmm. And that was the smartest person in the room. That was that for your first book, there, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a great title, by the way. Just so you know, I love it.
Yeah, the idea is you don't want to be the smartest person in the room.
Right, or because you're in the
You want
wrong
to surround
room.
yourself by smarter people so you can become smarter yourself.
That's
And
right. And
smartness is not just IQ. People have different talents, right? Some people are really good with people. Some people are really good with technology, and it's about all of that, really. I think intellect, or your how smart you are, is about how well you live your life, not just how well you do in one specific area.
hmm hmm and this is where it's maybe a little bit of self leadership can come into play here, right? Because you need to be able to check yourself, so to speak, before you can have that impact on others. I mean, and leadership roles often is evolving, having impact on others, but you've got to know where you're at and engage yourself before you can be effective with others. Is that not the case?
That's 100% the case. I think a lot of people forget that leadership starts with yourself. How you lead your life is the most important thing. And no one's going to lead your life for you as well as you can lead it for yourself. And nobody cares about your life as much as you do. So you
Hmm.
have to keep that in mind and develop the habits and whatever you want to go in life. You have to lead yourself down that path and to fulfill your vision. So it starts with you.
Hmm. I mean, I'm wondering, like, sort of the steps or the processes to figure out you, because there's some work, there's some work, there's some uncovering stuff that you've got to do, and part of that uncovering may well uncover some stuff you don't like about yourself. Like, I mean, that's a very real possibility.
Yeah, sometimes progress is messy, especially when it's personal development. And we often don't understand what's holding us back. It's something unconscious. It could be some trauma from our childhood. And, to get to the next level, sometimes we have to uncover that and understand how it has impacted us. And, for me, it's been a journey, and it's still a journey. There's always, every day I'm coming up with something new I'm trying to learn or unravel. A lot of it's unlearning the things you've learned in order to get to the next level, because the things you learned got you to one level of life, but maybe not to the next level. Same thing in business or health or wealth. It doesn't really matter. It's the same concept.
Well, yeah, the whole idea of you never really ever arrive, right? It's like I use the analogy of going to the gym, right? Like, you don't go to the gym and go, okay, I'm worked out, I'm in peak performance and top physical shape. It's an ongoing process. It doesn't stop.
That's right. And people ask me like about entrepreneurship, like when is enough enough? And I'm always like, as soon as I get to a certain level, I'm like, there's another level there. There's people there that
Yep.
have own yachts. How come I don't have a yacht? So what did they do that I'm not doing? As
Right.
example, it's like, so I'm thinking, maybe I don't want a yacht, but it's like, how did they get one, and why can't I get one? As example, so like, maybe I should change, my thought process and think more like they do. just as an example. And it's that way in anything, even relationships. Some people have a great relationship. I have a great relationship now, but I've had crappy ones in the past. So I've tried to do
Sure.
this one much different than the ones I've done in the past. You try to
Sure.
continually evolve. I think that's the whole point of life is progress. If we're
Right.
not making progress, we're typically not very happy.
Right. And that's why, again, on this podcast is very much about encouraging people to do that. But in order to make that progress, to get to that life that you want, you're going to have to take that first step. And that involves a little bit of courage, maybe call it risk taking, boldness, audacity. All of those things will fall into what we're talking about here. And any, I don't know, tips, suggestions that you might give to individuals who are kind of on that point of like, I don't know, should I? I'm not sure. Like, I'm not stepping. Okay, I'm stepping. Like people, there are people that conundrum, if you will, right?
Yeah, the biggest tip really is to have some clarity about what you want to accomplish.
Okay.
Your health, your wealth, your relationship, doesn't matter. Figure out with clarity what you want to do, and realize that may change later down the road. It doesn't matter. But if you have clarity, it gives you the courage to take the first step. Without the clarity, you're unsure of what step to take. And I think that's really what holds people back, is that
Right.
indecisiveness. But with clarity, like for me, I knew I wanted to start a new business. I knew I wanted to have a relationship a certain way. I knew I wanted to get my health a certain way. So I took those steps because they're much easier when I have that clarity of the vision where I want to go. So I think that's like step one, is figure out, what you want your life to look like in health, wealth, relationships, the big three. And then once you've got that picture, it makes it easier to take the first step.
Right. And there's a part about this too that we forget about, and you referred to as a dumb tax earlier on, right? But the idea is, you might take that first step, and one or two things are going to happen. You'll get what you're after. You'll succeed and you'll win, and things will go great. But then there's a possibility that it may not, and you might even, and I'll use the F word, isn't fail, right? But
Yeah.
it's what you take out of that from that experience is, and the lesson to learn, this still makes you a winner as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's what matters the most. There's no failure. There's the lessons you learn, and that's why I say your clarity may shift. But if you have clarity, let's say you want to make $500,000, and you want to have this sort of job doing it, and these are the steps you can take. And maybe once you arrive there, you're like, this didn't make me happy. Maybe I should do something else. But now and you take a different direction, and that's life. We'd always, we may not take a specific straight line, and maybe some zigs and zags, but that's how life is, and that's the growth process. At least it's for me. I never had 100% clarity and never just went a straight line. It's coming this way. Okay, I don't like
Mhm.
that. This way, I like this more.
Right.
It's been back and forth, but that's part
Right.
of it.
That's right. That is part of the journey. It was interesting. I remember once chatting with a mountain climber, and we were just talking about the getting to the top of the summit and how it's a big deal. And you put your flag down, but it's a really lonely place. There's not much going on up there. Like it's just right. And really, what mattered was all sort of the lessons and on the way up to that top, right? And all the things that were gained and the insights and the experiences and maybe the pitfalls. That's really what feeds our journey, and that's really what makes life worth living, because of what you can get out of it, not just the destination.
Yeah, 100%. I climb mountains myself, so I
Okay.
understand that journey. And I've almost died on mountains, so
Oh, wow. Oh
I
man.
understand that a lot. It is lonely on the top, and you get up there and you realize, oh, there's another mountain over there that's taller than this one. Maybe I should have gone to that one. You have a different point of view, a different perspective, and
Right.
that's what the journey gives you.
Right.
And
Right.
you grow along the way. You realize, maybe I should have been more present. Like with me, I lost my focus for a minute and didn't kick in my crampon enough, and ended up sliding down the mountain and almost dying. I was able to self-arrest and stop myself, but I realized, huh, without paying attention in these high risky activities, it can really cost me. So
Right.
after that, I was very hyper focused on being present and
Yep.
understanding the risk more, versus I got this thing, it's no big deal. It's actually a risky activity. People die, and I almost did. So yeah.
And thanks for sharing that, because I think that really goes back to the importance of you go through this thing, you go through this thing, you go through this thing, and you could stop because of what almost happened to you, or you could say, okay, I learned something. Let me keep on going. Now I'm armed with this with an increased level of insight, right? And I think there's a lesson in that as well too. Well, keep going.
There's less than that in everything, like if with at least for me, I've had, like I said, relationships that have failed, and I try to like look at my role in it. I think as humans, we often try to like blame the other person or blame circumstances or blame the company or the economy, but
Hmm.
realistically, we can't change that. All we can change is ourselves. So if we look at ourselves and what our role was in a relationship or anything I'm talking about, then we can make adjustments and the next one should be better. But we have to have that awareness that 99.9% of what happens to us is within our control.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're absolutely right, and it goes right. We talked off the top about those perceived barriers that we think that are up there, but really it's the ones that we made up ourselves. And we as much as we have the control to build them, we also have the control to destroy them as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the barriers we've made up, we can certainly bring them right back down. Yeah, and a lot of that goes to that story we tell ourselves. Like I said, and like I try to tell myself a story that overcomes those barriers because I know those barriers are constantly going to be there. And
Hmm.
especially, if you're trying to push things to the next level with your business, with your relationship, with risky activities, you're going to have those barriers, but most of them are in our head. They're self-created, like we said. So if they're self-created, we can certainly self-destroy them.
Got you, got you. What other things can we do to build up our courage and give us the opportunity to chase the things that we're after?
I think we need to get better at making decisions. Ultimately, our life is a culmination of our decisions. And if you are not making a decision, that is a decision. And this could be a decision like, okay, I'm going to stop drinking soda today and eating candy bars and go work out. That's a simple decision.
Sure.
We try to overly complicate things, but it's really a decision. Like if I have a crappy job, and I hate it, decide to quit, decide to get another job. It's just a decision, and don't let all this other, BS affect your decision. I think we need to tune into ourselves internally. I think we know all the answers. If
Sure.
we tune in and block out the noise from society, from our parents, from our family, from media, and just listen to ourselves, at least for me, when I am able to do that, the decisions are always like that quick.
Yeah.
A voice in my head says yes, no. It's that simple. And
Yeah.
when I follow that voice, I've always been right. When I've ignored the voice and tried to logically rationalize something else, it's never worked out.
Hmm. And it's interesting because when you get there, you know right away. There's no second. You're just like you just know it, and this is the decision I have to make, or this is the path I got to go through.
100%. And a lot of us wait to like that rock bottom moment to make the decision, but we knew the right decision earlier on if we would have just listened to ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. A piece that we've touched on a bunch of things, but a piece that we haven't really touched on is sort of the obstacles and challenges that happen in our lives, and the ability for us to sort of bounce back from them. You were involved in a serious car accident at one point. That and and with among the other things that you've done, you talked about almost losing your life on a mountain as an example. So there's
Mhm.
lots of things that have happened that you've been a part of. I don't know if you could talk about the process of overcoming these things that are setbacks and that hold us back and may impact our lives negatively.
Yes, for me, one of the biggest things was in February of 2022. I developed blood clots. I had six on my left leg, and I almost died. And the doctor told me I could have a stroke or die at any second. So that really set me back because before that, I was climbing mountains, doing Ironman triathlons, and I was basically told I can't run. Don't like get in the hot tub. Don't do too much to get your blood flowing because the clot may break off and kill you. And take these blood thinners. So it's sort of like relegated to a life of sitting alone in my basement watching,
Mm.
Yellowstone or some
Mhm.
show on TV. And I was miserable. And I went through this for like a year almost, taking the blood thinners, just feeling like in fear of my life. Like I couldn't do
Right,
anything I really wanted to do.
right,
And I realized it was impacting me not just like physically, but mentally in all aspects of my life. I didn't feel as confident in relationships. I didn't feel like starting a business. This was really impacting me. So I just thought, is this the life I want to live? and what's the risk? And with that, I made a decision. Like one day I was literally staring at those blood thinners and I was like, you know what? I'm not taking these damn things anymore. And I threw it across the room. I went and got my blood tested. I made a decision to reclaim my life, you know. I went and got all the tests possible in blood, every single test possible. I got a Doppler MRI on my leg. I did everything I could to assess my own health. And after that, I felt much better. I felt like, okay, I've reclaimed my health.
Mm-hmm.
It's my destiny's in my own hands, and I know the risk. And I've got the blood tests that I'm doing periodically to understand if I have clotting factors or anything else.
Right.
And that was a long journey for me. I was super depressed, you know, sitting in the dark in my basement watching those reruns of Yellowstone and thinking, man, my life is, as I know it, is over. And that was a story I told myself back then. And it took me a while to, you know, I told myself I should be grateful I'm alive, but my life is like not the way I wanted it. So I had to like reshift that story and say, you know what, I'm going to figure this out, make some informed decisions, and move in a direction I want to go. And once I made that decision, it gave me the courage to start a new business, to get in a better relationship, because it's hard to do for all of aspects of your life to go well if one aspect is really suffering. At least it was for me. So that was something that was super hard for me to get over. But I just made those decisions.
Um, Blood clots. I mean, if you can sort of give our audience an idea of how, I guess the severity or the impacts it can have, like on people's lives.
Yeah, so I had just flown back from Phoenix to St. Louis, and I was working out in my basement doing burpees. I was able to do like 150 burpees and stuff. And after I worked out, my left leg behind my knee started hurting very severely,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought I just pulled a muscle. And then I talked to a friend of mine later that evening, and she's like, "I think you may have blood clots." I'm like, "Whatever. I'm like super healthy. I don't have freaking blood clots." And she's like, "Do you feel like out of breath going up the stairs?" I'm like, "A little bit." And she's like, "Just do me a favor and go to the hospital." I'm like, "I hate hospitals." So I'm like, "Okay, I'll go to the freaking hospital." I promised her I would. So I went to the hospital, and they took my blood pressure, and it's like 185 over something, and my blood pressure is normally like 110. So I'm like, "Okay, this is a weird sign." And then they did an MRI, not an MRI, a ultrasound on my leg, and the doctor came out and told me I had blood clots. So I had 6 in my left leg. That's a lot.
Wow.
And my leg would just progressively got worse. Like I was limping at that point. I couldn't walk hardly. So they gave me some blood thinners, sent me home, and my leg hurt so badly that I remember standing in Whole Foods in line to check out, and I almost had to leave the store. I couldn't stand on my leg; it hurt so badly.
Wow.
And eventually, you know, after a month or 6 weeks, those blood thinners, you know, it started feeling better.
Right.
But I tried to run once, even though they told me not to run. I'm like, you know, that maybe this will get it better, and I couldn't feel my foot; it was numb.
Wow.
So I just back then I just told myself I'd run through it or like. And then the doctor said, "Don't run anymore. You're gonna die." So I'm like, "What do I do?" He's like, "Just sit down, take it easy." And I'm not a person that takes it easy.
Right.
So I'm like,
Right.
"Oh my goodness, what am I gonna do with myself taking it easy watching TV?" It's not like what I normally do. But eventually it got better, and now my leg has some spasms every now and then, but I'm able to, you know, run and do stuff. I did a half Ironman last year, half Ironman triathlon.
Oh,
You know, I
okay.
can go for a 10-mile run, ride a bike. So I've got myself to where I've, you know, pretty much fully recovered.
Gotcha. Well, congratulations. I mean, it's first of all to have your life change as drastically did for you. I can imagine not being an easy thing and having to figure that out. But you also sort of made that conscious choice or decision that this is not how I want to live my life and it needs to change, and you did that. So congratulations. I think there's a powerful lesson that you know that our audience can take from that with respect to just not letting things define who you are or how you live your life.
Yeah, that's that clarity I was talking about. It took me a while to shift from acceptance and like, this is just my life is to realizing, you know, this sounded good for a while, but now I feel caged and I want to change my life. And that's where the clarity came in. I want my life to be, you know, full of adventure. And even if I die, you know, doing an adventure, I would rather die doing that than sitting on my couch doing nothing.
Mm.
So that's where the clarity came in for me uh, take those steps. And the steps weren't like just full on risky steps. I did the things I could do to mitigate the risk, which is getting every single blood test I could do, getting my leg looked at and monitoring my health and everything else. So it wasn't like an on the whim decision that I didn't like make some choices to reduce the risk.
Got you. Totally makes sense. Let's talk about your second book, is In Between the Micro, right? And well, first of all, why did you write that book?
I wrote that book. I had a couple topics going on in my head, and I was in a car accident in May of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And the car accident like solidified, it connected all the dots that I need to write the book on that topic. The car accident was a small car like T-boned this truck, and it was a high-speed intersection, and the truck bounced back and hit my car, but I was able to back up a little bit before it hit me too hard, so I wasn't injured, and my girlfriend wasn't injured. And we got out of the car to help because the guy in the truck, was hurt, and the woman in the car was, severely hurt. She got out of the car and was like in shock, glass falling off of her, walking. And the first thing she said was, and my girlfriend caught her before she fell to the ground. The first thing she says that she wanted to talk to her husband, and she didn't know where her cell phone was. So she told the number to me, and I called her husband and, told her husband what was going on. And then she wanted to speak with her husband. So I guess in that moment, it solidified, like, sometimes the only thing that matters is talking to a loved one. Nothing else matters. And the other thing that I thought was interesting about the whole car wreck is everyone else besides my girlfriend and I at the time, everyone else just sat in their car, like looking frustrated. No one else got out to help. And I thought, man, if I'm in an accident, I would want one of my fellow human beings to come help me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just that moment that solidified, I need to write about these micro moments. So that was a macro thing that happened at, the car accident, but the moments in dealing with that woman, and the moments really affected me in a positive way. And then I started looking at my life and realizing where I got things wrong and where I got them right, and what my role was in that. And a lot of it was I was so hyper focused on this big goal that I missed the things right in front of me, and I didn't show up with intention, and I ruined relationships or let my health go down the toilet, or, develop those blood clots, which I think were probably, attributed to that lifestyle as well.
Right. Yeah. So those in between moments, and the small things do count and do matter. And I think a little bit of focus and intentionality certainly can help us, recognize what's happening in front of us. Christian, for listeners that wanted to learn more about you, catch up with you, or pick up a copy of your book, where can we send them?
They go to my website, christianespinosa.com. My books are available on Amazon, and I have audio versions of both of them as well on audible.com.
Very nice. Well, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time today. It was a lot of fun chatting and learning a little about you and your work. And congratulations on your successes, taking those steps where you needed to take, and getting on the other side and being able to talk about them and share them with others is an incredible thing. So congratulations. All the best, and take care.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Ali.
Back we are here on the podcast, and through Christian's story, we learned that true growth and transformation often stem from moments of adversity and self-discovery. By embracing clarity and self-awareness, we can navigate life's obstacles with courage and resilience, paving the way for a more fulfilling and audacious life. To connect directly with Christian and explore his transformative work further, be sure to check out the show notes below, and that's where you can access the contact details to learn more about him. I would encourage you to reach out to Christian for personalized coaching or speaking engagements, or to discover more about his own inspirational through his books. I mean, he's got books and all sorts of cool resources, and I'd encourage you to stay tuned for special offers and products from Christian, including exclusive coaching sessions, which are very insightful. He's got workshops and empowering resources to support you on your personal development journey. As we conclude today's episode, I encourage you to like, follow, and share the Audacious Living Podcast with your friends and loved ones if you haven't already done so. It's that kind of support that helps us grow and continue to inspire others to live their most audacious lives. Thank you for being a part of our journey as well as our community. And remember, the journey of audacious living begins with a single courageous step. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stevenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.